And we're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on November 25th. Yesterday, a very good day, 4-1 on the channel, looking for more. Of course, big day again for college basketball. It is feast week, so going to be looking more at the Players Era Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. I got nothing for Maui. I don't know. Maui, great games yesterday. The Arizona State comeback against Texas was phenomenal. There's nothing I like with the odds for that right now. So we're going to stay away from Maui, and we're just going to go straight to the Players Era tournament with some other, obviously, best bets in there as well through some other tournaments and just some games in general. So folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Yesterday, again, a 4-1 day. We were perfect other than Oregon State early in the day, but a 4-1 day, we will take it. Looking for more of that same success here today. Later today, make sure you go check out our NBA best bets. That's going to be posted in 2 hours here on the channel. Yesterday, we posted our college football predictions, full 4.5 hours, actually longer than 4.5 hours of college football predictions, so you're not going to want to miss that. That'll be linked in the description down below. Okay, on to the first now of our 5 best bets today for college basketball. We're gonna have bets all throughout the day. 3 of them are going to be with the Players Era Festival, and that's actually our first 3 bets. So kicking things off with our first one, we go to Las Vegas, Nevada for the first, I believe, Players Era game today, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Give me Notre Dame minus 6.5. And oh, by the way, again, since we're back in the setup today, we'll be back to the normal setup tomorrow, but regardless, I will have timestamps, hopefully, if I remember, timestamps in the description down below, so you can skip to whatever bet you want to see, obviously, because, I don't have the graphics today. Okay, so first game, Notre Dame taking on Rutgers. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win and cover the 6.5 points. This ultimately does not come down to what do I think of the Fighting Irish. I think they're all right. I don't think they're a premier team in this tournament, but I can tell you I believe the worst team in this tournament right now is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And maybe you can make the case that's UNLV. I mean, shout out to Maryland last night coming through. That was a disgusting basketball game in the first half, but the Terrapins came through in the second half. Maybe it's UNLV. Maybe it's San Diego State. Oregon's not very good either. Shout out to Auburn. I think it quite easily, though, has to be the Scarlet Knights. And I will tell you again, I don't think Notre Dame's a premier team in the tournament either. I do think they are very low level in this thing. I think Rutgers, though, is the worst. I think so. Rutgers is a 4-2 team this season, but look at their last 2 games, losing to Central Connecticut 67-54, and then losing, obviously, to Tennessee yesterday, an 85-60 loss for the Scarlet Knights. I mean, if that's not bad enough, again, you lose to Central Connecticut, the Blue Demons of Central Connecticut in your first game, preparing for this tourney. And again, you knew there was going to be a high drop-off, in talent and play for Rutgers coming off of last season, where they had both Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and obviously they started 4 freshmen and a senior last year, and obviously they got affected by the transfer portal, but I don't like what Rutgers is running out there. Watching them play a couple times this year, obviously the Central Connecticut game did not look good, and I understand they were not expected to beat the Tennessee Volunteers, but they didn't even put up a fight in that game, losing by 25. I mean, right away, Tennessee goes on a quick run, and that game is over. It's complete domination, losing the game by 25 points. I'm not a big fan of what Rutgers has got going on. There's not a player on this squad where I look at and say, okay, they have, obviously, they don't have a Dylan Harper, they don't have an Ace Bailey. Dylan Grant's been the leading scorer all year long. You got Tyreek Francis as well. Grant's averaging 15 points per game. Francis is averaging 14, but yesterday, neither of those guys really made a massive impact on the game. I mean, Grant only plays 10 minutes, or sorry, he only plays 20 minutes and scores 10 points. Francis only scores 9 points in 25 minutes. Not sold. Not sold at all, right? Francis, obviously coming over from NJIT, the New Jersey Institute of Technology. For Grant, played at Rutgers last year, was one of the freshmen, obviously, that started, and he was expected to take that leap this year. And sure, he has, obviously. I mean, everyone took a backseat to what Harper and Bailey were doing. But I just don't love what Rutgers has got going on. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sold on the Fighting Irish either. I'm not. But I do think they are extremely They're way better than Rutgers, though, is what I can say. I don't think they're a great team. I don't think they're going to go that far in the ACC, but they've got players. I mean, Marcus Burton, obviously, coming back this year, 20 points per game scorer. He was everything last year for the Fighting Irish. Hell, he was everything for the Fighting Irish 2 years ago in 23-24. I mean, this is a player who's going to average over 20 points per game. He's only a junior. From the second he stepped on campus at South Bend, he has been a total impact player for the Fighting Irish. Yesterday, Notre Dame stays in it with Kansas. Obviously, a Darren Peterson-less Kansas Jayhawks squad, but, Burton goes out there and scores 24 points. His team loses by 10. I get it, Notre Dame is a 4-2 team this year, but, you look at the teams that they've played, losing a 1-point game earlier in the season in Columbus to Ohio State, and winning the games they're expected to, obviously, beating Long Island, beating Detroit Mercy, beating East Illinois, and beating Bellarmine as well. Well, okay, here comes Rutgers. That is a team that Notre Dame is expected to beat. Fully. You are expected to go out here and win this basketball game. Again, Burton's a big factor. Carson Tout's been playing pretty well down low this season. Tout's averaging 12 boards a game. He's been pretty good. 6'8" senior, obviously, who has been a productive player so far this year. Started at Northern Arizona. I believe started almost every single game in his collegiate career over with the Lumberjacks at NAU, but he's been really good, being a physical presence down low for Notre Dame. Then obviously Braden Shrewsbury. Always butcher it. But Shrewsbury has been pretty good this season. Again, didn't score much last game, only scored 9 points against the Jayhawks, but this is a guy who obviously started every single game for the Irish last year, averaged 14 points. Obviously, Notre Dame's got a lot coming back from last season. Again, do I think they're all that elite in the ACC? Not really, but I think they're better than Rutgers. I think Notre Dame wins the game, and I think they cover. Obviously, both these teams are eliminated from the potential championship game in the Players Era, tournament. I don't know exactly how they seed this. Is it random? I don't know, because we're going to talk about it later. I mean, there are going to be teams that are going to, there's going to be teams that are coming off wins, playing teams coming off losses, so I don't entirely understand how that works, but whatever. I think Notre Dame wins, and I believe they cover, as my computer turns into a fighter jet again. I think they're much better than the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and I believe they should be able to cover the 6.5 points as well. So give me Notre Dame on the points to beat Rutgers. Going on now to our second best bet of the video, staying in Las Vegas for another Players Era tournament game, as we have the Iowa State Cyclones as 8.5 point favorites, and we're going to take Iowa State to cover against the Creighton Blue Jays. This is going to be right after, I believe, or actually this is going to be during the Notre Dame Rutgers game. This one is at 11 o'clock Pacific. I believe Iowa State puts it on Creighton today. Creighton played yesterday. They played a Baylor team who, is good, but obviously not on the level of Iowa State. We know how good the Cyclones are. We picked them yesterday to win, and they did exactly that in a interesting game against St. John's, right? Iowa State down in the first half. They come back in the second half. They go about 8 points in the second half. St. John's closes that lead. Competitive game late. Obviously, Iowa State goes on to win it by 1 point. Really, and some of the officiating in all of these games yesterday over in Vegas were horrible. This one was not a great officiated game between Iowa State and St. John's. I mean, every single trip down the court, someone's going to the line. And again, I'm not going to say it was, one way or the other, but it was just all around a poorly officiated basketball game with free throws the entire night. But Iowa State so far this season, 5-0 basketball team, won the first game against FDU, beat up on Grambling, had that big win over Mississippi State, beat Stonehill, and obviously the game yesterday, beating St. John's in a competitive matchup. And this is, the case I was talking about earlier. You have a team that won yesterday in the Cyclones taking on a team that lost yesterday in the Creighton Blue Jays. Now, for Creighton, this is a 3-2 team this season coming out the Big East. When they have played good teams, they have lost. And they have, I guess they lost by 7 to Baylor, but we can say Iowa State is better than the Baylor Bears. Obviously, Creighton played Gonzaga earlier in the year. They went to Spokane, and they got demolished, losing the basketball game 90-63. I don't think they're ready to play a team like Iowa State. Now, again, who's better, Zaga or Iowa State? I don't know. I mean, there's a chance we see this game later in the tourney. Obviously, I don't know how they're just going to select 2 teams, because there's going to be multiple squads. They're going to be 2-0. Hell, again, I expect Gonzaga to probably beat Maryland, who played a very poor first half yesterday. So again, Zaga could easily be undefeated. Iowa State could be undefeated in this thing. Kansas probably beat Syracuse today to go 2-0. I don't know how they're going to determine. I think it is point differential, right? But whatever. The matchmaking doesn't entirely seem fair at points, but it's okay. Anyways, Creighton has not played well against good teams yet this year, and that's exactly what Iowa State is. Winning yesterday 83-82, dealt with adversity. That is a game, again, late in the second half. That's going back and forth. You think, again, they go up, they have that big run to start the second half. You think Iowa State's going to start to dominate and really pull away from St. John's. They did not. Now, a good thing we took the money line and not the 2.5 points. Again, I thought about taking the spread, but obviously money line hits for us. Spread, unfortunately, did not hit. St. John's is a good team. They're a good team that's explosive. They score a lot of points, but Iowa State was able to match that the entire game. They got a big shooting night out of Milan, who went 5 for 9 from beyond the arc and 23 points. Joshua Jefferson, obviously one of the mainstays of the lineup as well, scoring 17. It's an all-around group effort for the Cyclones, and it's a good basketball team. Now for Creighton, again, losing to Baylor 81-74. My thing with them, again, is we have seen them play good teams, and they have come up short. Sure, Creighton's going to beat up on all the mid-major squads when they've played other Power 5 conference squads. Well, I guess Gonzaga's technically in the West Coast, but you know what I mean. High-level teams, they haven't shown up. Now, yesterday against Baylor, Creighton digs himself into a hole somewhat in the first half. Baylor goes into halftime up 8, and really, it is just all Baylor. I mean, Baylor immediately gets out to a lead early in that game, and again, they really just coast to that 8-point lead. For majority of the game, Creighton closed the gap early in the second half, and then at some points, you know, like 7-ish minutes left in that second half, but regardless, Baylor's pretty much in control of the basketball game throughout, and they beat the Blue Jays. I just don't think Creighton's on the level of Iowa State, nor do I think, you know, they were obviously on the level of Gonzaga earlier in the season, and unfortunately for the Blue Jays, they just have a very tough draw now in their second game. I mean, it's just a brutal matchup. Obviously, Iowa State, Baylor both coming out of the Big 12. Iowa State expected to do much better, obviously, than Baylor this season, and, well, you lose to Baylor, and now, all of a sudden, here come the Cyclones. Creighton yesterday was led in scoring by Josh Dix, played pretty much the entire game, 39 minutes, scored 15 points. Dix is one of their 2 better scorers, one of the 3 better scorers, honestly. It's him, Blake Harper, and Nick Graves. Harper averaging 12 points per game so far this season, again, Dix averaging 11.8, so essentially just 12, and then Nick Graves averaging 11 points as well. Dix transferred from Iowa. Nick Graves is from Charlotte, obviously had a big year last year for the 49ers. And then Blake Harper is a transfer who I believe is in his sophomore season, if I'm not mistaken, from Howard University. They've got guys, but it's just, you know, somewhat of a young team. Obviously, you get, you know, sophomores and Harper, and oh goodness, who else is... Oh, they're starting Jackson McAndrew when he plays again. He's a sophomore as well in the starting lineup, in and out of it. You got a couple seniors on the roster as well, but it is somewhat of a young squad. Obviously, Nick Graves was really good in the American Conference, had a big year last year for Charlotte. And now he's playing in the Big East. Now he's playing teams like Iowa State, who is good enough defensively. You know, I just looked at that game yesterday against St. John's. That's just how the Johnnies are going to play this entire season. They're going to play, you know, high-paced, high-scoring basketball, and it is what it is. You know, that's just how St. John's is going to continue to play. We saw that against Bama, and if you're going to beat St. John's, you're going to need to either, you know, really lock in defensively or be able to score 80-plus points, and that's what Iowa State did yesterday. So I like Iowa State in the spot. They are 8.5-point favorites, and that does feel like a lot to cover. But trust me, if Creighton's losing yesterday by 7 points to Baylor, they're going to lose by a whole the hell lot more tonight against Iowa State. So I'm going to take the Cyclones to win and cover in Vegas. Give me Iowa State minus 8.5 here in Vegas against the Creighton Blue Jays. On now to our third best bet of the video, our final Players Era Festival game, and we go to the Houston Cougars taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. 100% the game of the day. You saw it in the thumbnail. It's the matchup of the day. I'm taking Houston minus 3.5, and we're not just picking favorites today. We will have some underdog plays in a second here, or at least some even, and then an underdog play to close the video. I am taking the Cougars to win and cover 3.5 points. I understand they were in an absolute dogfight yesterday with Syracuse. The Orange go on that big run at the end of the game. You think had a chance. You know, they go on that big run. They send to overtime. I think maybe Syracuse got a chance to win it. They 100% did, but obviously that game was won by the Houston Cougars, who are one of the premier teams, obviously, in college basketball. Obviously I have to mention the Baylor Bears, or not, my goodness, the Baylor Bears, the Purdue Boilermakers. I don't know why Baylor came out of my mouth there. Purdue, obviously one of the elite teams in college basketball. Obviously Duke is at a very high level right now, but Houston ranked currently 3rd in the nation. This is a team that is 6-0 this year. Wins over Lehigh, Towson, Oakland, Auburn 73-72. They beat the Rider Bronx, and then that victory over the Syracuse Orange. I think they're going to lock in today. I think it's going to be a better team effort out of the Cougs tonight compared to what they did yesterday. Didn't expect on paper, right, them to play that competitive game with the Orange. I think it's going to be a whole lot easier for them. Okay. I don't know if I can say easier, but I think it's going to be second night of the back-to-back. I think they're going to be better, is what I'm trying to get at here. I understand Tennessee hasn't lost a game yet this year. Who has Tennessee beat? Partially, that's my thing with Tennessee, right? And we did talk about Rutgers earlier. Tennessee hasn't played an elite team yet. Oh, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Guess, Rutgers is playing like a lower mid-major team right now. It might be harsh, but that's honestly what the Scarlet Knights have been doing so far this year. Look at Tennessee's victories. They have not played an elite team yet. And you go from beating up on, let's go from Mercer, Northern Kentucky, North Florida, Rice, Tennessee State. You beat Rutgers. You go from those games, and now all of a sudden you got to play one of the top 3 teams in the country. You got to play the team that were obviously the runners-up last year in the NCAA tournament, losing to the Florida Gators. You got to play Houston in this thing on a second night of a back-to-back, and I understand, again, it is a tournament. Everyone is playing second nights of back-to-backs, but I just don't like it at all for the Volunteers. Again, they are a ranked team this season, but they are wildly unproven. Jacoby Gillespie has been great. Nate Ament, the true freshman, has been really good. I think Ament's going to be a very talented player, obviously a highly touted recruit from Virginia. This is a guy who's averaging 19 and 8 so far this year. Ament does obviously have NBA potential. He will be at that level very shortly. Ament's going to be great. He's going to be one. I mean, he's obviously already one of the best one of the best freshmen in all of college basketball. And Jacoby Gillespie, experienced college guy, 4th-year player, started at Belmont, was a big-time asset for Maryland last year. Now he's playing at Tennessee, starting at Tennessee, and averaging essentially 20 points per game. They've got Gillespie and Ament, I understand, but look at what Houston brings to the table. Again, one of the better defensive teams in all of college basketball. I understand Syracuse went on their run at the end of the game. It was a game Houston was winning. Syracuse goes on their run, sends it to OT. I understand. This Houston defense, though, is physical, it's good, and obviously you have their weapons offensively as well, like Emmanuel Sharp. You got Kingston Flemings, obviously Milos Uzan as well. There are guys up and down the lineup for Houston that are going to make it, again, a struggle for you to score on one side of the court, and the other side of the court, obviously, they're going to work their offense. And again, Houston's not going to be this high-scoring, explosive unit like at St. John's, where they're not going to go out there likely and score 100 points on you, but they are going to really, continue defensively, limit your scoring opportunities, and take advantage of it on the other side. So again, yesterday, a 4-point victory for the Cougars, winning 78-74. They were led in points by Uzan, who had 26. Again, it's just a team that doesn't make that many mistakes. Shooting-wise, again, they shot 40% from the three-point line, 11 for 27. You had the 26 points out of Uzan. You had 26 points out of Emmanuel Sharp. There are just players on this team. Again, there was no other scorer yesterday for Houston that scored more than 10 points other than Uzan and Sharp, who both put up 26. And they still won the basketball game because of what they can do defensively. And obviously, you got 9 points out of Kingston Flemings. You get 8 points out of Senac. I mean, you get points everywhere, obviously, but it's the ability also for Uzan and Sharp to explode and score 20 plus at the same exact time. For Tennessee, I know, again, Gillespie's great, Ament's really good, JP Estrella has been good so far this season. I don't know where else your scoring comes from, and if you can just limit and bottle up Gillespie, Ament's playing now in his, 7th college basketball game, and again, the dude's a talent, but if you can get rid of Gillespie and force Nate Ament to do most of the scoring, and that's what Houston can do to you because of how physical and how physical of a defensive game that they play. Take away Gillespie, force Ament to be the number 1. I don't think Tennessee's going to see that much success. Even if they can bottle up Jacoby Gillespie, I think they're going to be fine. Obviously, again, Gillespie 32 yesterday against Rutgers, but my other point being, Tennessee hasn't played a really good squad yet. They beat Rutgers, sure, technically that is a Big Ten school. What has Rutgers done this season to warrant them being a quad 2 team? I mean, they're really not. I mean, I'd assume they'd probably finish in the quad 2 ranks, but who knows? I mean, that's just what Rutgers has been so far this year. They've been horrible, and again, we think Notre Dame's going to roll over them, and I believe Tennessee is going to play a competitive game until it isn't in the second half, then Houston kind of just pulls away. I think we see a tightly contested first half, and in that second half, Houston really, starts to lock in defensively, and they start pulling away from the Volunteers. I'm going to go Houston Cougars spread tonight, -3.5 again back in Vegas. They should be able to cover against the Tennessee Volunteers. So we're going to be staying away now from the Players Era Festival for the rest of the video. We've got 2 more best bets, the first of which is our only mid-major game of the day. Mid-major versus mid-major. Obviously, we're going to have a sprinkle of mid-major later in the video as well. I will get to that in Rutgers. I mean, can we really consider Rutgers a Power 5 level college basketball team right now? Not really. Anyways, mid-major versus mid-major, as our next best bet is going to be Portland State money line. Portland State is in St. George, Utah to take on Utah Tech. Just to clarify, there is no tournament being played here. This is just a straight game. And I'm taking Portland State to beat the Utah Tech Trailblazers. We've covered Portland State already this season. This is a team that has a lot of returning players and some guys who have big scoring potential. We did pick against them in their last Division I basketball game. We had C-Sub, Cal State Bakersfield, to cover, 7.5 points. Unfortunately, Portland State ended up winning it by 10. But getting to watch Portland State now multiple times this season, they are a pretty good team and they can put a lot of points on you. I understand they're going on the road, so Utah Tech will have an advantage there. But watching Utah Tech this season, I'm not impressed. Now, I'll get to Utah Tech in a second, but obviously if we're going to be talking about Portland State, we're going to be talking about Jalen Henderson, one of the better players in the Big Sky Conference. You know how much I talk about Money Williams out of the Big Sky, and I understand Montana lost the other day to Lamar on their own home court. interesting. But anyways, Jalen Henderson is one of the other really great players in the Big Sky Conference, averaging 22 points per game. He's been, a 20-plus point game scorer pretty much every single night out there on the court. Started his collegiate career at La Tech, went to Portland State last year, started pretty much every single game for Portland State, and obviously a returning starter this year. The offense really goes through Jalen Henderson. He's going to get the big shots. He's obviously taking the ball up court. But also Trayvon Minott, the games I've watched out of, or Minott, excuse me, the games I've watched at Portland State, Minott does catch your eye because of all that, of all the help he commands, all the defensive presence he commands, in terms of, you give Trayvon Minott the ball down low, teams are immediately going to double because he is such a physically strong dude, and because of his post moves, he can back down a single center by himself, obviously. So teams like what C-Sub had to do against them, they really had to clamp down on Minott. They had to send two, and then, okay, kick out, find the open three-point shooter, hits the three. So Minott warrants, again, a lot of defensive help, and he's been a huge reason why Portland State's been, competitive and successful so far this year. This is a player who started his collegiate career with the South Carolina Gamecocks, never really got, extended PT over there in the SEC, came to Portland State a couple years ago, was on a bench role 2 seasons ago, last year pretty much started every single game, and now in his senior season, he's starting every single night too. Minott's a really physical player. He's good down low. Again, averaging 9 boards a game. If you give him the ball underneath the paint, again, he will command 2 players to come over there and try to bottle him. I like Portland State quite a bit. They score points. Again, we saw them in the Cal State Bakersfield game, albeit that game was in Portland, Oregon, but Portland State looked good there. They played a somewhat competitive game at Stanford against the Cardinal. They have only had 3 Division I basketball games this season, which is a little bit concerning. Obviously, that game at the Farm against Stanford to start their year. They then went to San Francisco to take on the USF Dons, and then their only victory so far this year is against a D1 school is Cal State Bakersfield. They do have a couple D2 wins sprinkled in there between Northwest Indian and Evergreen State. But you see great scoring nights every single night at Jalen Henderson, no matter if he's playing a Division I or a Division II basketball team. Jalen Henderson is likely putting up 20-plus points. As for their opponents, the Utah Tech Trailblazers, a team that's already had 8 games so far this season, but a lot of matchups against Division II and low-level colleges and low-level schools. They went to Hawaii for the, oh goodness, I forget what the Rainbow Classic is it, where, that tournament where Hawaii brings in a bunch of teams that are nowhere near their level, where, I wonder why Hawaii wins the Rainbow Classic every single year, because they invite the worst mid-majors to go play them. Regardless, though, Utah Tech fell short in the Rainbow Classic. Hawaii won that thing pretty easily. It's a round-robin 4-team tournament. Hawaii won 3. They won all 3 games, as Manhattan went 1-2, Utah Tech went 1-2, and obviously the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State. Yeah, those guys got invited, went 0-4 or 0-3. But watching Utah Tech in that tournament, obviously I got the chance to do that because, it's Hawaii games, they're on late, it's usually a standalone spot. Not impressed. I think they played their best game against Hawaii, but watching the Hawaii game, they only lost by 6 points in a tournament in which, Hawaii beat up on everybody. The reason why, I think, second night of back-to-back for both teams, Hawaii just didn't shoot that well, and they couldn't get Big Fish going as much as you can. Obviously, their big center from Utah State. But ultimately, it was just a bad shooting night for Hawaii. It's not like, there's anything Utah Tech did that was overly impressive. It was just Hawaii didn't play well. And why I can say that is because look at the other games Utah Tech played in this tournament. They lost to Manhattan. The Jaspers are a high-scoring team, sure, but when they play better squads like a Hawaii, they really struggle to score the basketball. Their 2 best scorers are 5'10" and 6 feet tall. And then I remember that, the Hawaii commentator said those guys are really like 5'8" and 5'11", but they're just listed as taller. Anyways, Utah Tech played Mississippi Valley State, obviously the lowest ranked team in the Ken Palm, the Delta Devils, and they took them to double overtime. I can't take you seriously if you're losing to Mississippi Valley State, with all due respect. Almost losing to Mississippi Valley State. I can't take you all that seriously. They did beat South Dakota at the beginning of the year, which was a surprising outcome, obviously. We thought the Coyotes were going to win that basketball game. I'm still not sold, though, on the Trailblazers. They are led in scoring by Ethan Potter. The senior out of Layton, Utah, does average 16 points per game. This is a player that was at Utah Valley for his first 3 seasons, now here at Utah Tech for his senior year. Potter's good. The rest of the team, not that impressed. Chance Trayulo isn't bad, but I'm not sold on Utah Tech at all. Again, watch their games, watch how they play Hawaii. The game's close. It's not because of Utah Tech. The game against Manhattan did not strike me as all that impressive, and the worst game, too, is Mississippi Valley State. No disrespect to the Delta Devils, but they made Mississippi Valley State look pretty good. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I'm going to be going here with their opponents. I understand the game's in Utah, but I think Portland State's going to get this one. They are a high-scoring bunch, and I don't think Utah Tech's going to be able to keep up. Last time Utah Tech played a somewhat high-scoring team, which I'm not sold on the Jaspers at all, but the last time they did that, they played Manhattan and they lost. So I'm going to go here with their opponents on the road. Give me Portland State to beat Utah Tech. Money line, I believe it's -115. Give me Portland State on the road. On to our final best bet of the video, we go to Acrisure Arena, not to get confused obviously with Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Acrisure Arena over in Palm Springs, California for the Acrisure Classic. We have the Utah Utes taking on the Grand Canyon Lopes. Give me Utah plus 4.5. That might be surprising because of how both of these teams have been playing this year, and I understand. Utah, though, is 5-1 for as bad as they have looked. They've only lost one game, which happens to be to the hands of the Cal Poly Mustangs. That's just what happens when Cal Poly gets to you. They can shoot, and they can shoot very effectively. Regardless, though, Utah is a 5-1 team. They have not looked impressive in their victories, I will say that. Utah, played a competitive game against Purdue Fort Wayne, played a competitive game against Sam Houston, played a competitive game against Weber State, San Jose State. All their games are somewhat tight. The only game that wasn't competitive for them so far this year was the Holy Cross Crusaders. I expect this game to be close. Not telling you they're going to beat the Lopes, but I think the game is going to be competitive if anything, right? Grand Canyon, 3-2 team this season. This team lost to Youngstown State on their own home court. Come on now. They went to St. Louis, lost to the Billikens 78-64, but even their wins, they beat Northwestern State, and Northwestern State put up 72 points on them. And sure, you can compare common opponents. Oh, Grand Canyon beat Purdue Fort Wayne by 19. Utah only beat them by 8. I don't care. They're playing each other late night spot. This game's going to be starting at 9 o'clock Pacific time over in California, and I think Utah's able to play a competitive enough game. The way I see this is a coin flip. In terms of a winner, this is a coin flip. But we get points on one side of the button or the other. I'm taking plus 4.5 for Utah here. Again, we are given points, so I'm going to go with the Utes. Now, am I impressed with this, lineup that is completely different from last season? They basically changed they lost 8 guys in the portal. Obviously, Gabe Madsen was everything last season for the Utes. They had to bring back a whole new team or bring in a whole new team. It's odd, I understand. Again, well, it's not odd in this day of college basketball, but it's a difficult situation to be in. I understand. I think they're all right. I don't think they're great, but I think they're good enough to be competitive with a West Coast squad here, or West Coast Conference team, obviously, in Grand Canyon. If you've watched Utah this season, it is all Terrence Brown, and this is why I like them to keep it close, too. And I know, again, they ended up losing the Poly game by 7 points on their own home court, which is atrocious, but Utah's going to score. And Utah's going to put up a bunch of points. Terrence Brown averages 25 points per game. That is second right now in all of college basketball. I mean, he was a player last year at FDU who averaged 20 points per game. He's coming out of the Big 12, and I understand he hasn't played the highest level teams yet, but he's averaging 25 points per game with the Utes. And they have a bunch of guys who can score. Do they play defense? No, 100% they don't. But Terrence Brown averages 25. Don McHenry averages 17. Keanu Dawes averages 12 points per game. Traore averages 12 points per game as well. I mean, they do just throw their starters out there for 33-ish, 34-ish minutes per game, but that's okay. We don't care about the entire season for Utah here. We care about one night and one game, and I think they can cover 4.5 points. Especially against a GCU team who, again, they might be better. Obviously, losing Tyon Grant Foster in the offseason to the transfer portal and to Gonzaga. They're currently led by Jaden Henley in scoring with 17 points per game, and Makai Williams with 13 points per game. Again, Henley's been their best player, senior guard, played at UNLV last season, started his career actually at Minnesota, and then at a pit stop at DePaul, where he actually started at DePaul. Henley's been a starter pretty much everywhere. I assume he just wanted to go to a spot where he can be the guy. Was never the primary scorer, not in his freshman season, obviously, at Minnesota. DePaul doesn't score in general, but he was not the number one option. And at UNLV either, he was not their number one guy. But, I mean, everyone left UNLV last year, and they completely just brought in 13 new guys. So can't really put that one on him. Regardless, though, Henley's been good. Makai Williams has been pretty solid as well. He is a junior for this team, averaging 13 points per game. Started at UT Arlington, went to GCU last season, now officially pretty much starting for GCU. There are games where he hasn't started, but I assume Makai Williams will be in the starting lineup tonight. I just think Utah's very close with this team, and just the way, again, I expect this game to play out in terms of a game script perspective, I think scoring on both sides. If you can say anything about Utah, I mean, if you need to say anything positive about Utah, is that they will score. Defensively, are they great? No. Do they find the clutch shots against Cal Poly? No. Do they let Cal Poly, win that game and take it away in the last 5 minutes? Sure. But what I can say is that they're going to score points, and they're going to make it competitive. In a game in which they are not expected to win, you can say that obviously via the odds for this game, as GCU is a 4.5 point favorite. We just need Utah to keep it close. And I think they can because of that high-scoring nature. I think it will be somewhat of a competitive game. No, I mean, I think it's going to be a competitive game. I don't know if Utah can win, though. That's the real question. I do believe they will be able to cover. Again, basically, you have Brown taking over the Gabe Madsen role, and obviously Terrence Brown's a better player than Gabe Madsen. We just need the supporting pieces to also score for Utah, and a little bit of defense would be helpful as well. Give me the Utes to cover here in Palm Springs, plus 4.5. Folks, that'll do it for our college basketball best bets here on November 25th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba